Welcome to Stonewatch. This is the Retro Rewatch Thanksgiving edition. Today we're talking about the 1993 classic Son-in-Law. And if you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button and click on that bell so you can notify for future videos. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And happy Thanksgiving to one and all. Hopefully you're having a good holiday. Hopefully you're spending some time with your family, eating a lot of food, kicking back, watching some football, or like myself personally, because I'm not really much of a sports fan, I like to kick back and watch some movies, especially holiday movies that are appropriate for the season. Now, I watched Plane, Trains, and Automobile every single year, and I'm still going to watch it this year anyway, but one of my other Thanksgiving classics that I like to watch is Son-in-Law, starring Pauly Shore from 1993. Now, I'm not saying this is like the best movie that's ever came out, but it's probably one of Pauly Shore's best movies that he's done in his career, to be quite honest with you, and I'll be quite honest with you, I kind of fell off watching Pauly Shore's movies towards the beginning of the 2000s, and I haven't really seen anything recently that he's done, to be quite honest. You know what I'm saying? But in the early 90s, he did a lot of movies that I like quite a bit, this being one of them. Now, like I said, this is the early 90s. He's fresh off of his fame that he got off of being on MTV. Then Encino Man hit in 1992, and it was kind of a hit, even though it didn't really make a whole lot of money, but it was considered to be quite profitable. I mean, I don't know what the marketing budget was for that movie back then, but okay. So he is doing this one. Now, this is actually his first starring role. He's the main guy in this movie. Right? I mean, I have to say, as much as I still love this movie, and I had a good time watching this movie last night, I really did. But at the same time, there was a couple moments in this thing where I was kind of cringing because he was doing the whole weasel thing that he would do on MTV at the time. And then it was kind of funny, but now it's just really, man, that's kind of stupid. Why do you do that? Son-in-Law is a 1993 American comedy film directed by Steve Rash, written by Fax Bahr, Adam Small, and Shawn Schepps. The basic plot of the movie is this. 18-year-old Becca Warner, moves from her small South Dakota farm town to attend college at the fictional University of Los Angeles. On her first day, she and her parents meet Carl, the resident advisor of Becca's coed dormitory. After they leave, the clash of the cultures causes Becca to consider returning home, but Carl convinces her to give college a chance. She soon begins to acclimate, cutting and dyeing her hair, dressing in Californian style, and even gets a tattoo. Becca invites Carl to spend the Thanksgiving break with her and her family back home. After Encino Man, Shore was considering a project with New Line Cinema, but was heavily pressured by Disney chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg to stay with Disney and make Son-in-Law, which was released in the United States and Canada on July 2nd of 1993. Starring in this movie, Pauly Shore, Carla Gugino, Lane Smith, Cindy Pickett, Patrick Renna, Dennis Berkeley, and Mason Adams, just to name a few. Currently, Son-in-Law is sitting with a Rotten Tomato score of 21%, with only 19 top critics reporting in, and the last top critic to do a review for this movie was January of 2017, and he didn't like it. Now, he called it a dated 90s Pauly Shore comedy, which I agree with, because there's no doubt about it. It's in the early 90s, it's got Pauly Shore in it, and it is what it is. And I have to say, when we had In the Army Now, Jury Duty, they all kind of followed the same formula. But this was the best one of the bunch. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I mean, I still love this movie. I had a great time with this movie. Now, over the audience side, it's sitting with a score of 58%. So a little over half of the 50,000 plus fans telling you what they think like this movie. Now, the last fan to do a review of this movie, other than my video right now, was September of 2022. Now, he liked it. Now, he called it a classic. Not my favorite Pauly Shore movie, but always a good watch, which I absolutely agree with. I like watching this movie over and over again. And actually, of all the movies that Pauly Shore has done, especially in the early 90s, this is the only one I can actually see they could make a sequel to. Maybe, just maybe. Now, with a budget of $8 million and its total box office of $36.4 million, I don't really think they're going to make a sequel to this movie, but this was the only one that had the actual room in the story to do so. You know what I'm saying? At least as far as I'm concerned, probably be straight to streaming type movie, but they still could possibly make a sequel. I gotta say, if I had to rank the early 90s Pauly Shore movies, Encino Man, Son-in-Law, In the Army Now, A Goofy Movie, Jury Duty, and Biodome, I gotta say I'm gonna go Encino Man for number 1, Son-in-Law for number 2, Goofy Movie for number 3. Now, I know it's an uncredited voice role, but he's one of my favorite characters in this movie.
Max, look, it's the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
He only got that role because of how popular he was at the time, so I'm gonna include it on my list because he was in it. It's a Pauly Shore movie as far as I'm concerned. And then we've got In the Army Now for 4, which it's not like my most favorite Pauly Shore movie, but at the time, it kind of fit what was going on in the news. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of ranks up there just a little bit there with me. And at number 5, we got Biodome, even though I did a video on that when I did my rewatch, and I didn't really like it the last time I've seen that movie. But however, it's kind of up there in the list. It's been a long time since I've actually seen Jury Duty, but I didn't really care for that movie back then, so I'm putting it at number 6 on my rankings. So I don't know, man. All I can say is this is still one of my favorite Thanksgiving movies to watch every single year, along with Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. I mean, those, as far as I'm concerned, are the classic Thanksgiving movies. Now, I mean, there's really not that many other Thanksgiving movies out there. I mean, there's still a little bit of a list of them, and some of them are like the Hallmark movies, and I try to avoid those. However, this is still one of my most favorite Thanksgiving movies. I try to watch it every single year, and as far as I'm concerned, it's probably one of the better Pauly Shore movies from the early 90s, other than Encino Man, but that wasn't just him. That was Sean Astin and Brendan Fraser also that people were really digging with in that show too, right? However, this is still one of my favorite Thanksgiving movies and one of my favorite Pauly Shore's movies, and I think it's worth the watch. So, have you watched the movie Son-in-Law starring Pauly Shore? Let me know in the comments down below. Where does it rank with you with all the other early 90s Pauly Shore movies? Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, it's a good Thanksgiving movie as far as I'm concerned, right? So, let me know what you think in the comments down below.